Worldbuilding is a mechanic writing in a story that lays the foundation and paves way for tales to follow. That is why we very much love One Piece, a world permeated with bizarre-looking people and distinctive islands throughout the Grand Line. And that is also why we hate a lot of isekai anime. The same copy-paste world with your typical isekai settings and your generic demon lord's plot structure. World building is very important as it lets the audience explore the themes and ideas that could not have otherwise. It is what makes or breaks the audience interest in indulging in your world creation. So, an author has a responsibility to make a world that is lively and can differentiate itself from other fictional stories. Today, we are going to examine the storytelling mechanics in my favorite anime game. Thus, here I am introduce you to the astonishingly massive world of Genshin Impact. Genshin Impact has its own set of story and tales that imbued into the world building to make it more colorful and vivid compared to other genres. We as travelers must travel across all 7 nations in order to uncover the history behind the country itself and also finding evidence towards bringing our sister or brother back. So throughout our journey, we will be encountering different sets of themes and struggle across 7 nations that we have to face. For example, in Mondstadt, the traveler must save and fight the corrupted Dvalin from the Abyss Order, while in Inazuma, the traveler faces another challenge of battling against the Sakoku degree of Electro Archon. All of these events lead to the uncovering secrets of Teyvat and the history behind it. Furthermore, we learn how each lores in the story have been crafted really well to be linked together with all the events that happens in the main story. Every item, including books, artifacts, and weapons, has its own fable or myth to be told. Heck, we even discover the legendary warrior of Mondstadt, Vanessa, just from reading the book we found in Jin's office. With this, we can see more context to the mystery and also the past of certain characters that we really enjoy, even if it's not being told in the main story. Another aspect is how characters play a very crucial role in the world building of Genshin Impact. Every single 39 characters has their own one-of-a-kind design, personality, traits, and history that makes who they are. According to the developer insight, the core foundations of building a character is what roles they will play in the story, what is their identity, and what makes it different from all the other casts. Each has their own struggles and tales to be followed, which we can absolutely relate to as a person. For me, I became personally attached to Kazuha after hearing his endeavor to deal with his friend's death by the hand of Raiden Shogun. This is one of the reasons why we love the characters in Genshin Impact, and they are the selling point of this game. Now, let's take a look at the story of Zhongli and Guizhong, the god of dust. Morax met with Guizhong at Dihuang Marsh amongst the glazed lilies. Both Zhongli and Guizhong established the Gili Assembly as a means to guide their people. Guizhong is a very benevolent and brilliant with how she managed her people, while Morax is more towards being the bronze side of things. With that kindness, Guizhong taught Liyue people virtue and wisdom so they can live to their fullest of their life. Zhongli considered Guizhong as a friend and as someone who he truly cares about. However, Guizhong dies during the Archon War, and her final word to Zhongli was, "It seems that our journey together has come to an end. This is the mark of our pledge, and it is also my challenge to you. All my wisdom is hidden within this stone dumbbell, if you can unlock it." Then she faded away and died in the hand of Morax. Till this day, Zhongli was not able to unlock the memory of dust. Nevertheless, he became who he truly is because of Guizhong, a compassionate and fair god who pledged his contract to the people of Liyue. Now, this is just one part of Zhongli's story. There are a whole other segment from his confrontation with Azdaha and also his role in the main Archon story. And on top of that, this is just one character lore out of 39 characters we have right now. Each character has their own unparalleled story that is embedded into their personality and goals which encompass who they actually are. With all that I have explained, this is the unique character of Genshin Impact, and this is what makes the world building very intricate and feels fresh to the audience. There are two factors that contribute to the remarkable design of Genshin Impact. One is the design groundwork, and the other one is the integrations of culture. These two aspects have become the core foundation in creating the world of Genshin Impact. For the sake of simplicity, we are going to look at Xiao Design in Developer Insight for patch 1.3. The concept does not just apply to characters, but also landscape, architectures, and other variants for Genshin Impact. But before we go there, let me explain these two concepts first. The first key factor in Genshin design philosophy is the design groundwork. It is where all the basis from what is the themes of design, what is its purpose in the world, and also what makes it different from other variants are being constructed first to build the foundations of the idea. After that, we go to the influence of culture or reference that are being made. The purpose of integrating elements of the real world into Genshin concept is not just to make it more profound, but also serve as a building block from the groundwork of their concept. Genshin does not just copy-paste something from our world, but it tries to adjust to being something unique on its own while we still see where the inspirations come from. This is where Genshin design groundwork comes into play. It plays a major role in complementing the culture of Flatus and also provide more background to the character or landscape feeling. Although occasionally some of the design are derived from inspirations first, however, the component must fit perfectly with the style, setting, and background to serve their original purpose. Now, the second part is the integrations of culture. The culture and society of our world are the main inspirations of Genshin Impact. It became a driving force that brings the culture, people, architectures, and traditions into the world of Genshin Impact to resonate with real-life experience. With that connection that is being made, we became much more invested in the world building in order to see our own culture or culture of another society being played in anime form. Each nation in Teyvat is influenced by different culture in our world. Mondstadt is Germany, Liyue is China, Inazuma is Japan, Sumeru is a combination of India and Middle East, Fontaine is France, Netlin is Latin America, and Snezhnaya is Russia. Not to mention, there is also places like Kandria and Celestia which we know little of. Within these 7 nations, there are diverse sets of ideas, folklore, and traditions being presented to show the fantasy aspect and also the cultural aspect. For instance, the usage of kitsune that we see all in the quest Sacred Sakura Cleansing Ritual is heavily inspired by Japanese tales of the fox spirit. A guardian and companion serve as messenger. We see how it plays a very important role in Inazuma. All of this intricate and complex world just makes the place we travel much more lively and thoughtful in nature. Okay, now we go to the Genshin design process. Let's take a look at the character Xiao. Xiao is an animal Liyue character who fight for the goodness of others. The themes behind Xiao creations is a young warrior, mighty and illuminated adeptus, and a corrupted hero. He has youthful looks and some might say a hero complex. He spent all of his life sacrificing himself for the sake of others. Illuminated Adeptus represents the divinity being or a protector deity who serve under the Geo-Archons. The identity of Xiao is that he is a tainted guardian who fights demons in the shadow for the sake of Liyue citizens. In a way, both of his legs are in the dark and light part of being conflicting with himself. So this is the basis premise of who is Xiao and what design directions will be looked upon, or should I say the groundwork design of Xiao's character. So after deciding the groundwork design, we go to the meat and potato of the characteristics. This is where the culture integrations play its role. We can see this in the explanations of developer insight in patch 1.3, how Xiao character was built from ground up. As I mentioned previously, the themes behind Xiao creations is a young warrior, mighty and illuminated adeptus, and corrupted hero. He is a guardian yaksha which is on journey of malevolent spirits towards goodness. Thus, from the general descriptions we have, he is then created from a lot of inspirations from Buddhism and Chinese mythology figures, which needs to be coextensive with his themes. That is where the golden winged Garuda comes to. A deity was a fearsome predator who ate only evil dragons until one day the dragon's poisons he had consumed became too much for him to bear, and he burned to death, leaving only a crystal heart behind. This becomes the foundations for his consolations and his story down the line. The golden winged Garuda is not the only character inspirations. There is also Hua Guang Tianwang and Shan Zhao that shape the character Xiao we see today. We can see how all of these influence from religious elements such as deity, divinity, and evil are presented from his accessory, Vajra and censer. There is also his mask, which was taken from Nuo folk religion as a means for exorcism. He is using the religious items as a way to show that he is fighting demons. The developer decided Xiao to be an animal unit so he fits with the themes of wild and swift warriors. Xiao's upper body used white and green while his lower body used dark blue. This is to represent the contra between light side and the corrupted version of Xiao. Xiao is a young warrior with a medium-sized body. Meanwhile, the agile movement and martial arts combat style is another dimension of his design since he wields animal visions. When he uses his burst, the swift movement becomes wilder and uncontrollable because of the inner suffering that is corrupted him. This is one of the reasons why he keeps his distance from the citizens of Liyue, which emphasize his motivations more. From all of this, it makes sense that Xiao is not inspired from one certain aspect, but multiple elements that form the character we see today. This is what makes the characters unique and can stand on their own. The details that are being put is something that we take for granted with how expensive and difficult it is to make a character in Genshin Impact. All the elements play very nicely with not only the design but also his personality, background, and also not to mention the combat style. The same can be said with the beautiful scenery of Liyue to the amazing soundtrack of Dragon Spine. They are built with an emphasis on strengthening the player's experience to uncovering and exploring the story of Teyvat. Genshin is a really big for a gacha game. The anime aesthetic with the detailed world building is what attracts a lot of people to this game. It is not just a large empty canvas, but a world filled with unique characters, monsters, architectures, landscape, culture, and history behind it. The more you dive deep into the story, the more you are invested in the lore and history behind it. Just by seeing the contrast between the world building in this game and any other anime isekai genre, it is like comparing between a book and a piece of paper. I mean, just look at these two landscape portraits and tell me which one is more appealing or tells the audience more about the world. It is obviously the first one. You can tell how vastly different the two are. For me personally, this is what makes Genshin so special for an anime games. It is also one of the reasons why I really enjoy this game.